Let's begin this conversation with a chilling allegation made by Omoyele Sowore, and this is one that cuts straight to the heart of Nigeria's justice system. Well, Sowore has sounded the alarm. He is claiming that there is a secret decision that has been made within the Tinubu administration regarding the fate of Nnamdi Kanu. But before we get into all of that, what played out in court today? Remember, Justice James Omotosho had given Nnamdi Kanu today, being the 5th of November, to enter his defense or waive his right to do so. Well, during today's court hearing, it was pretty much interesting, and I want to fill you in on what played out in court today. This is Political Arena. Please do well to like, subscribe, and share, and I'd really like you to be a part of the conversation in the comments. Now, at the Federal High Court in Abuja today, 5th of November 2025, Justice James Omotosho has handed Nnamdi Kanu what he called a final opportunity to defend himself in the terrorism charges brought by the federal government against him. The judge made it very clear that if Nnamdi Kanu fails to present his defense on November 8th, which is on Friday, 2025, the court will consider his right to defend himself waived and then proceed to judgment based on the evidence already on record. Now, Justice Omotosho noted that the court had shown enough patience, having granted multiple adjournments in the past, and in his words, the court cannot wait indefinitely. But here's where the case takes a dramatic twist. Nnamdi Kanu, who is, obviously representing himself after dismissing his legal team, told the court outrightly that there are no valid charges against him. According to Kanu, the law under which he's being tried has been repealed, which is the Terrorism Act of 2013. And continuing the case under a dead legislation amounts to a violation of his constitutional rights. This is what Kanu has been saying all along. And the judge does not want to listen to that aspect of his defense. As much as Kanu says he does not want to enter a defense, but this in itself is a defense, as Justice Omotosho has, already admitted in the previous court outings. All right. So Kanu is saying that is something he would have to speak to, but the judge says no, you would have to defend yourself. And then Nnamdi Kanu is standing his ground. Matter of fact, he stood before the court and declared, "Set me free. I will not go back to detention because there is no valid charge against me." It was a defiant and emotional statement, not from a defeated man, but from one convinced that justice itself has been compromised, right? The prosecution on their own part sees things a bit differently. Government lawyers argue that Kanu's repeated refusal to open his defense amounts to deliberate attempts to frustrate the trial. And so they are insisting that the state has followed due process and that Nnamdi Kanu, if innocent, should prove it in court rather than challenging the existence of the law itself. And so in their view, this case isn't about politics, it's about national security, and the law must have to take its course, all right? That is what the prosecution is saying. That is the defense or the arguments that they put up in court today. But outside the courtroom, the voices are even getting louder. Like I said in my opening statements, that the allegations made by Sowore cuts straight to the hearts of the judicial system in Nigeria. I said that Sowore, who is a well-known human rights activist and political figure, has raised alarm, has raised what he calls a red flag, alleging that a secret decision has already been made within this current administration led by Bola Ahmed Tinubu to determine Nnamdi Kanu's fate. In Sowore's words, a plan has been devised through a high-level political conspiracy to either sentence Nnamdi Kanu to death or condemn him to life imprisonment. The trial is merely a judicial drama to seal a verdict agreed upon behind closed doors. If that claim holds water, then Nigeria isn't just watching a court case. it is witnessing a carefully choreographed political play, right? And, this is where things become chillingly symbolic. Sowore points to November, the same month, 3 decades ago, when Ken Saro-Wiwa and 8 Ogoni activists were sentenced to death by the Abacha regime. And so that 1995 verdict shocked the world and left a scar on Nigeria's moral conscience. And now, in November of 2025, another son of the East stands before the same machinery of state power, accused, defiant, and isolated. It's as if Nigeria has, come full cycle. According to Sowore, only the uniforms have changed, not the methods. And so, as Sowore puts it, the trial of Nnamdi Kanu has ceased to be about justice. It is now a test of conscience for the Nigerian state. So what really is at stake here? For the government, it's about asserting the authority of the state against, secessionist threats and preserving national unity. For Nnamdi Kanu and his supporters, it's about the right to self-determination, political expression and the integrity of due process. But for the rest of Nigeria, this trial is a mirror reflecting our democracy's soul. Will justice prevail based on law and evidence, or will politics once again write the final judgment? Because when a nation begins to repeat its darkest chapters, it's not just the accused on trial, it's the entire system, right? So what is playing out at this point in time? Because the arguments that people are putting up is this: if terrorists can be negotiated with, if the federal government, if state governments can negotiate with terrorists, if the government can forgive Boko Haram members and call them repentant and reintegrate them back into the society, some of them even joining the Nigerian army, some of them, given amnesty, some of them enrolled into government programs and reintegrated back into the society, what stops the government from adopting just about the same method with Nnamdi Kanu? So these are the issues. After the court session today, we caught up with his lawyers who are now serving as his consultants, and they had quite a number of things to say. Let's take a listen.
Today's hearing in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, and the crowning glory of it was that he put up a very good defense of himself, even though he was concentrating on the objections raised to the jurisdiction of the court. On that note, the court adjourned for further hearing to 7th of November, when the court expects that he will enter his full defense. Well, having said that, I know a lot of people have raised questions and eyebrows about the propriety of Nnamdi Kanu representing himself. It is his decision to make. He has a right under the Constitution to defend himself, and this case being politically charged, I think the idea or the notion that this is a normal criminal case has to be dispensed with. This is a not normal criminal case at all. If you want to understand the complexity of this case and the true political dimensions to it, you think of the case of Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, or Bafemi Awolowo, Mahatma Gandhi. These cases were all politically tinged cases masquerading as criminal prosecutions, and these great men I mentioned, at some point in their struggle, at some point in their travail imposed on them by the state, they took the podium and defended themselves. So a politically charged case often comes with some unusual dimensions like this. So because why? The reason is simple. Lawyers are restricted to very narrow wiggle room when they are doing a case, and that narrow wiggle room can be inimical, can be prejudicial to the interest of the client when the case has a political dimension to it. That thing needs to be out there. That limitation we have is not expected of the defendant himself. So a lot of times, the defendant himself will make the best defense of his case at that very point in time. That does not obviate the fact that the presence of a lawyer in a case is always better. But in certain circumstances, there are exceptions, and the exception is this one is one of the major exceptions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, my lord has adjourned the matter to 7th of July, 7th of November, for the Mazi to open his defense, or he will foreclose his right of defense. So we are going back to the drawing board, go back to office, look at it, and offer our advice as consultant.